This next video is going to walk you through step by step how to do a service assessment, or you can call it a training assessment. The training assessment is very important that it's handled correctly. Please understand that when the guest comes in for their initial tour of the facility to get started on their membership, the membership department already did what we're going to refer to as a tell sell, where we attempted to tell them about personal training, tell them about what we could do for them. And if they're into the service assessment, that means that for one reason or another, they did not purchase based on the tell sell. So it's very important that trainers take the approach of the training assessment that this is not a tell sell. We don't want people to come back and give us feedback that they got a 30 or a 45-minute sales pitch. We want to make sure that we're going to do what's called show selling. We want to make sure that we're going to take the client out on the weight room floor. We're going to show them some things in the way of core stabilization, kinetic chain assessment, and training so that they have a reason, or that they feel a reason to want to get involved in personal training. The sections of the training assessment are going to be as follows. There's going to be the initial greeting. Then there's going to be the initial paperwork, which is going to consist of the PAR-Q, the Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. Then we're going to go into the goals, finding out exactly what that client looks for. From there, we're going to get their initial measurements. We're going to do an initial core test where we're going to teach them what core stability is all about, why it's important, and how it can help them accomplish their goals faster. Then we're going to take them out on the weight room floor, do a core stability assessment to find out where their core stability is at this particular time. Then we're going to take them through what's called a practical assessment. From the practical assessment, we're going to take them back to the desk area or back into the office, where we're going to do a recap. We're going to highlight things of importance and interest to them, and then if appropriate, we're going to present personal training options for them. We have several different options for them to choose from, and it's important that we gather the information during the assessment as to which program is going to best suit them. We don't want to hand them the entire binder and then overwhelm them with several different programs to choose from. We want to attempt to isolate the program that's going to best suit them. The first section of our training assessment is going to be the PAR-Q, or the Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. What we want to do is we just want to identify if there are any kind of medical conditions or any kind of previous injuries that may become aggravated or made worse by going through an exercise program. It's important that if any of this comes up, that we refer out to a medical professional. Again, personal trainers, unless you have a PhD after your name, we do not make medical recommendations or diagnosis. So if somebody has any kind of medical restrictions or any kind of problems, it's very important that we work with the doctors as much as possible to alleviate any type of potential injury. Then we're going to go into the goal assessment. This goal assessment is crucial. It will give you the ammunition that you need so that you can help that person make a decision to get started on personal training. If you skip the goal assessment, or if you don't get good information, you're going to be stuck using nothing more than old, outdated used car salesman techniques. When you go through and do that service assessment, they will give you all of the answers that you need so that you can paint a picture for them, if you would, and help them make that buying decision. Again, if not, you're just going to be using used car salesman techniques. Please watch the video and pay attention to how we want to build a relationship with the client. There's three things during the qualification that we want to accomplish. Number one, we want to find their hot buttons, the emotional hot buttons. What are their emotional triggers? What gets them excited? What brings them down? We want to find all that. Number two, we want to build rapport. We want to start building a relationship with this client, with this potential client, because people will buy from people that they like. People like people who like them. So if you refer to your manual, you'll find a section called Building Rapport. It's very important that you understand these concepts so that we can break down those barriers. When people come in to meet with us, a lot of times they're very nervous, they're intimidated, they're scared, they're afraid we're going to try to sell them something, or they're just freaked out to be in the gym for the first time. It's very important that we build that rapport, put them at ease, make them feel comfortable with what we're going to do. The final thing, or the third thing that we want to accomplish through this qualification process, is we want to find out what their objections are. It's very important that we find out their objections before we do anything, because in general, it's safe. The client knows we're not going over prices, we're not going over any kind of options or anything like that, so we can usually get good, honest feedback from them. But in addition to that, if we know what the objection is before we take them out on the weight room floor, we can spend the rest of our training assessment slowly overcoming that objection, rather than trying to have to use used car salesman techniques towards the end of the process. out here, and we're going to do a core stability assessment. Once you understand core stability, I'm going to actually assess your core stability and see how well you're able to stabilize your core. Then from there, we're going to do what's called a practical assessment, where I'm going to observe you doing a pushing, a pulling, and a squatting movement and seeing how well you're able to apply the rules of core stability that we've already gone over. That will conclude this visit. From there, we're going to schedule your second visit, where I'm going to set up your initial workout based on the data that I've gathered from your assessments, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to teach you how to foam roll. From there, you're going to have an exact idea of all of the programming that we have to offer, what we can do to help you, and if any of our educational programs are going to be a benefit to you. Any questions?
No.
All right.
Good.
So let's get started. First question. What are your primary fitness goals, Stephanie?
To become more toned and athletic condition.
More toned, athletic condition. Okay, what else?
To maintain a healthy body fat percentage.
Healthy body fat. Okay, what else?
Let's see. I think that's about it.
That's about it? Okay, so when you say that you want to be more toned, what exactly do you mean? What parts of your body would you like to focus on first?
My hips.
The hips.
Legs.
Hips and legs. And when you say that you want to be at a healthy body fat, what does that mean to you? What exactly would you consider, or what would you like to be as far as your body composition goes?
Well, I would like to be in an athletic condition, so whatever applies to the body fat with that.
Okay, and do you know where your current level body fat is right now?
Mine is 17%.
You're at 17%. Okay, now how long have you been thinking about this, Stephanie?
A few months.
A few months? Now, in the last few months, what has kept you from achieving it? And I want everything. I want every valid, legitimate reason that whether you work a lot or whether you're going to school or you're a single mom with 10 kids, I want every valid, legitimate reason that's kept you from this, as well as I want all of the reasons that you know in your own heart are just an excuse that you've been using to not go after what you really want. So give me both. Give me the real ones, but also give me the ones that you know are just excuses, because my goal is to help you get around both of them.
Okay. Very busy schedule. Work a lot.
Okay.
Money.
Busy schedule. Okay, money. So that's probably what's kept you from maybe pursuing working with a personal trainer or getting too involved with the fitness lifestyle. Okay, so busy schedule, money, time. What else?
The biggest one would probably be laziness.
Laziness. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that you've been thinking about this now for a few months, and what's kept you from doing it is the fact that you don't have a lot of time. You haven't had a lot of extra money to invest in extra things like supplements or personal training, and overall just laziness.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Stephanie, what's going to be different now?
I'm ready to commit to it.
You're ready to commit? Mm-hmm. Okay, but let's go through these things that have kept you from being successful in the past. There's still only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah, I use that as an excuse, though. I can find an hour.
Oh, so you could find an hour? Okay. Now what about laziness? How are you going to overcome the laziness? Because you can say that you're not going to be lazy all you want, especially right now, because we're not doing anything right now. So it's very easy to say, it's very easy to be ambitious when we're not doing anything.
Exactly.
So what's going to help you overcome that laziness in the future when, you know what, maybe that excuse of time starts creeping up on you? And it's okay to say you don't have an answer.
I don't have an answer.
That's fine. That's okay. Okay, now what about the finances? Have you received a raise? Have you come into some money? Or is that still a concern that I'm going to have to work with you on later on down the road?
Still a little bit of concern.
Okay, that's fine. So what I need you to do, Stephanie, as far as the laziness goes, I've got that covered. As far as the finances go, we're not there yet. But what I need you to do is I need you to start thinking about an amount that you know you could invest initially into some sort of a program. And I don't care how small it is. I promise to find something that will make that work. And we're not there yet, so you don't have to tell me now. And as we're going through this, I just want you to kind of think about, you know, could you put $20 down? Could you put $50 down? Could you do $100 or $150 towards a program? And I want you to start weighing and balancing, because I don't know what you spend your money on, but you do.
Right.
So I just want you to start thinking about that now, and when we get to that point, let me know. Fair enough?
Okay.
Now, why is this so important to you? Why is it such a big deal?
Because my self-esteem is lower.
So you want higher self-esteem.
I want higher self-esteem. Feel good about myself.
And you want to feel good about yourself. Now, Stephanie, I want to ask you, what's going to be different about your life when you have a higher self-esteem that you can see?
Just feeling better about myself and being motivated with the higher self-esteem to do more.
What will you do differently? What will you do more of?
I think it'll change my attitude, a positive attitude within work. And
so give you better attitude at work?
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 5, how important would you say that it is for you to get your body fat down to a healthy body fat and have the energy that you want and have that more toned athletic feel that you're looking for? On a scale of 1 to 5, how serious are you?
I say 4.
Say a 4? Now why not a 5?
I don't know.
Now I don't want you to prioritize. I'm just talking about your desire. So aside from any kind of job commitments, family commitments, or religious commitments, I'm just talking about your desire. Why not a 5? What's keeping you from saying, you know what, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to stop making excuses, I'm going to be committed, and I'm just going to get it done this time? What's keeping you from saying that?
I don't really know.
Okay, we're going to have to come back to that one, but that's okay. Now, give me a deadline. How much time are you going to give me to help you with your goals? How much time are you going to give me to help you get to that athletic body fat? Get the hips and get the legs where you want them?
3 months.
3 months? Now, do you know you can do it in 3 months, or do you think you can do it in 3 months?
I don't know. It was just a number.
You just kind of pulled it out?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go through the list of things that I know for a fact it's going to take that you're going to need to be willing to do, and you let me know if you're willing to do those things. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Are you willing to keep a food log?
Yes.
Are you willing to drink half your body weight in fluid ounces of water?
Yes.
If it made sense, and I'm only saying if it makes sense, but if it makes sense, are you willing to take a multivitamin every day?
Yes.
Are you willing to exercise 5 days a week?
Yes.
Now you kind of hesitated. Let's say, are you willing to exercise in the gym 3 days a week, but maybe if I showed you exercises and workouts you could do at home, would you be willing to do 2 of those at home? So you're still getting 5 days of physical activity, 3 in the gym, 2 at home. Would you be willing to commit to a plan like that?
Yes.
Are you willing to take a look at your budget and see if there's any way possible that you can maybe rearrange some things and see if you can start investing your money differently?
Yes.
And again, I want to come back to only if it makes sense, and that is my rule. It has to make sense, and you have to feel comfortable with it. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Now, how many times a day do you typically eat, including snacks?
3 to 5.
3 to 5? Now, the typical American eats fast food or eats out at a restaurant at least once a day. How about you? No? When is the last time you've eaten out?
A few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago, so not very often. Now, are you currently taking a multivitamin or any other type of food supplement?
Yes.
Okay, what do you take?
The multivitamin. .fit.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. And have you discussed this with your spouse or significant other? Is there anybody else's permission that you would need to get before changing your lifestyle?
Nope.
Nope, not applicable. Now, last question, as far as everything that you want to do, Stephanie, you want to be toned, which means that you want to see more muscular definition. So we're going to have to build a little bit of muscle, not a lot, just a little bit, just so that you can get that toned, sleek feel that you're looking for. However, at the same time, you want to be able to see the muscle more, so that's going to require that we lose a little bit of body fat. And also, you want to get your body fat down to more of an athletic body fat. So for all intents and purposes, what you want to do is you want to actually build up the muscle just a little bit, just so it's a little bit toned, but you also want to reduce your body fat at the same time. So what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to build in some areas but lose in some other areas. Does that make sense? So when it comes to nutrition, do you feel comfortable that you know exactly how many calories a day you should be consuming so that you can build a little here so that you can have that tone and firm that you're looking for, but then also reduce here so you can have that lower athletic body fat? And when it comes to doing cardio, do you feel comfortable that you know exactly what amount of cardio to do so that, once again, you can build where you want to build but reduce where you want to reduce. And when it comes to taking supplements, do you feel comfortable that you know the difference between that $3 multivitamin and perhaps that $30 multivitamin? And if I turned you loose on the weight room floor right now, would you feel confident that you know exactly how many sets to do, exactly how many reps to do, exactly how much weight to do, and exactly how much time you should be resting? Or are those all of the things you'd be looking for me to help you with?
Those would all be things that I'd be looking for you to help me with.
All right, now what we're going to do, Stephanie, is we're going to go out and we're going to do the kinetic chain assessment, and we're going to do the practical assessment and the core stability assessment. Before we go out and doing any of that, is there anything that I have missed, or are there any questions that you have?
Nope.
All right.
Good.
Then what I want you to consider, Stephanie, is as we're going through this process, again, I want you to think about, you've already said that you do not have an exact plan of attack. My concern for you is that your finances. I want to make sure that we can find a program that you're going to feel comfortable with fitting into your budget. So what I want you to think about while we're doing this is not how much you think, but how much you know you can invest in a program that can get you these results. And it's my job to make sure that we find a way to make that happen. Sound good?
Okay. Yep.
Right now, it's been said in our industry that the most common weight room injury is low back pain. In fact, it's been written in some magazines that 84% of people that work out in a gym suffer from low back pain. It's not because the back muscles are weak, it's because the core muscles are weak. In America, in the year 2009, we spend way too much time sitting. And as a result, every time we sit, we relax our spine and we relax our core muscles, we relax our stomach and almost push our stomach out. Human beings were not designed or built to sit. We were designed to either stand or lay down. In fact, the way our ancestors used to sit is about the only anatomically correct way for a human being to sit, and that is down in this position, in the squatted position. And this is how our ancestors sat. And from this position, you'll notice I've got neutral spinal alignment, and I've got my belly button drawn in and activated, even though I'm not really thinking about it. Now, our ancestors didn't sit like this because they had an understanding of core stabilization and proper spinal alignment and how to prevent low back pain. They sat in this manner so that if a charging rhino came through their camp, they could quickly get up and bolt. So it had to do with the environment they lived in demanded that even when they sat down to rest, they were still able to get up and quickly get ready to either run or fight for their life if they needed to. The chairs that we have developed for ourselves today destroy our backs by not only putting our spine in an unstable environment, but also we relax our core muscles and we don't use enough of our core muscles. Now, the primary core muscle that we're going to teach our clients is the transversus abdominis, and I'm going to refer to it as the TVA. So when teaching our clients core stability, we're going to explain to them that the purpose of this is to make sure that we do not help them get results in the gym only to see them have to be out of the gym due to a back injury. So we want to make sure that we teach every single client that we can, we want to teach them core stability. Our instructions are going to be to have the client face us. And what we need to do is we need to give the client an appreciation for what core stability is. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the client elevate one of their arms directly in front of them like this. Always ask your client if they have any kind of shoulder injury or arm injury that may be aggravated by you pushing down on your arm. Do you have any kind of shoulder injury or arm injury that may be aggravated if I push on your arm? What we want to do is we want to teach the client, or we want to demonstrate from one extreme to the next. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a client into what most people put themselves into when they exercise or when they sit down and relax. So what we're going to do is we're going to instruct the client to push their belly out like they're trying to make themselves look fat, and then slouch and really show me poor posture, because this is how most people sit, this is how most people relax, and unfortunately if you observe people in our gyms, this is how most people work out and exercise. Now from here, I'm going to apply pressure to my client's wrist, and our instructions are to have the client resist that pressure. So I'm going to push down and I want you to resist. Are you ready? Go. Okay. Now we're always going to be able to push down on the client's wrist just because we have leverage. We have leverage. I've got my entire body weight pushing down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to explain core stability. Go ahead and put your arm down. We're going to explain core stability, and it's going to sound something like this. Now, what I want you to do is you have a muscle and it's called the transversus abdominis. We're going to refer to it as the TVA. It starts back here in your spine, and it wraps around to the front of your belly, and it attaches to some sheath-like material. It is the primary stabilizer muscle in the body. So if I'm standing like this, and I move my hand, the first muscle that activates is that belt, that transversus abdominis. If I did not have that stabilizer muscle, as soon as I moved my hand out, I would start tipping and falling over because that muscle stabilizes my entire body and holds it. Unfortunately, because we sit so much as a society, that muscle is extremely underdeveloped and it does not function like it's supposed to, especially when we're doing heavy lifting. So what I did right there is I purposely just deactivated your transversus abdominis. Now what I want to do is I'm going to teach you that when we activate the transversus abdominis and we activate our core muscles and have the body working together, we get a much better result. So what I want you to do now is I want you to take in a nice deep breath. Now the purpose of taking that deep breath, notice how that elevated your rib cage. What that did is it put your spine in what we're going to call proper spinal alignment. There's 3 curves that your spine is supposed to have. Okay? This curve right here, we're going to call this the cervical spine. And it curves outward. This middle curve that kind of curves in, that's called the thoracic spine or the thoracic arch, and it curves inward. As I come down lower to the lower back, it curves back out again, and we call that the lumbar spine. So those are the 3 curves that we want to make sure are observed anytime we're doing any kind of heavy resistance training. Anytime those curves are not being observed, we run the risk of injury. So it's very important that we always have those curves. When I had you elevate your rib cage, even though you didn't realize it, what you did is you put that thoracic arch into place like it's supposed to be. So what our instructions are to do is to elevate the rib cage by taking a deep breath. Now continue breathing, but hold that rib cage elevated. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to instruct the client to do what's called a drawing in maneuver with their belly button. We want to make sure they don't suck in because you're not trying to make yourself look skinny, and we still want you to be able to function. If you try to suck in and you can't talk, well then we're not going to be very effective and efficient while we're doing physical activity. So the instructions are with the rib cage elevated to do a light drawing in maneuver so that we can still talk and we can still hold a conversation. This is going to activate that transversus abdominis, which is the primary core muscle in the body. The third instruction that we're going to give to our client is to squeeze or activate the glutes. Now what that's going to do is a lot of the movements we're going to have our clients do, they're going to be doing lots of jumping and twisting and shifting and all kinds of hopping and doing all that other stuff. If those glute muscles are relaxed, it provides too much freedom and flexibility for the spine, and something can slip, especially when somebody is just starting an exercise program. They have not yet developed the stabilizer muscles to protect that spine. So our instructions are going to be to squeeze the glutes, and that sort of puts little packaging peanuts around the lower spine to help reduce the risk of injury. So the 3 instructions are going to be to take in a deep breath, which is going to elevate the rib cage, which puts in the thoracic spine, and it puts our spine in what we call neutral spinal alignment, which is the strongest position for the spine. The second stage is we're going to do a light drawing in maneuver to activate the transversus abdominis to make sure that the primary stabilizer muscle is actually doing its job. Our third instruction is going to be to squeeze or activate the glutes so that we can protect the lower spine while we are doing any type of physical activity, especially when it comes to dynamic movements where we're jumping, hopping, or twisting. So now, Stephanie, what I want you to do, take in that nice deep breath, draw in the belly button, squeeze your glutes, and put your arm back up. And again, I'm going to push down, and I want you to resist. Now, notice a difference. Now, did I make you stronger in 15 seconds? Absolutely not. What we did is we made you stable. And that is the difference between stability and instability. The first time when I pushed down on your arm, I deactivated your core, I put your spine in a vulnerable position, and you did not have your glutes activated. So what happened was your body was not stable. And because your body was not stable, your brain had to attempt to communicate with multiple other parts of the body. Anywhere between 12 and 15 major muscle groups, trying to communicate with all of them and get them to stabilize, even though those muscles are not primary stabilizers. The second time, when I had you put your spine in neutral spinal alignment, you were already going to be a little bit stronger. just because we put your spine in a stronger position, which automatically made you more stable. By having you draw in your belly button and do the drawing in maneuver, we activated the primary stabilizer muscle, and then when you squeeze the glutes, that gave you a much better foundation for stability. So because we had you stabilizing in the core like you were supposed to, what that meant the second time is your brain did not need to try to communicate with 12 to 15 other parts of the body, and it was literally able to focus more of its communication with that arm. So because we were able to make the brain communicate with the arm better, the ending result is you felt stronger, because it's a lot easier for your brain to communicate with just your arm rather than trying to communicate with your legs and the other side of your body and your back and all the other muscles when it's trying to get them to stabilize like in the first time. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And that is how we're going to teach our clients core stability. We're going to teach every single person that ever asks us a question about core stability, because it can make a huge difference in how long they're a member, or what types of results they get, or what kind of experience we give them and they go tell their friends about. When we're doing a kinetic chain assessment, we're going to use 3 different views. We're going to observe the client from the frontal view. Then we're going to come to the side and we're going to look at them from the lateral view. Then we're going to instruct the client to turn around and face the Aligna board so that we can check a posterior view. What we're going to do is we're going to start at the bottom. Now, utilizing the 5 kinetic checkpoints, which are the foot and ankle complex, the knees, the hips, the shoulders, and the neck and the head complex, we're going to look for any kind of posture that's out of alignment, or what we would refer to as kinetic chain dysfunction. So I'm going to start down here with the heels. And what I'm looking for is, do the heels rotate inward or outward? Are they everted? Are they introverted? And then I'm going to come up and I'm going to take a look at the pelvis. Our instructions are to have the client place their thumbs on their pelvis, on the top of the pelvis. That way there, I can identify where each side of the pelvis is and ensure that it's balanced without actually having to touch the client. We always want to minimize the amount of hand placement we have to put on our clients. Go ahead and put your hands down, please. Then I'm going to come up to the shoulders. And what I'm going to be looking for is I want to ensure that from the spine to the shoulder blades is no more than approximately 2 inches. So I'm going to look for no more than 2 inches. If I notice that the shoulder blades are 3 to 4 inches out, that's going to let me know that this client has protraction of the shoulder blades. And we're going to work on tightening or strengthening the rhomboids and the trapezius muscles. I'm also going to check tops of the shoulders to make sure that they are level. Then I'm going to look at the back of the head. I'm going to look for any kind of rotation, meaning the head is turned to the right or to the left. And I'm going to look for any type of lateral flexion, where the neck is flexed one way or the other. And then I'm going to instruct the client to please turn around. And from the anterior view, I'm going to take a look at the toes. And what I want to look for is I want to look to make sure that the toes are either pointing straight forward or slightly rotated outward, but only slightly. And then I want to take a look, and again, I want to look to see, are the feet introverted or are they everted? I want to take a look at the knees. Are the knees tracking over the toes? And then I'm going to again instruct the client to place their hands on their pelvis and point their fingers at me so that I can observe to see if the pelvis is level without having to adjust the client or put my hands on the client. Go ahead and put your hands down. Then I'm going to come back up and I'm going to look at the shoulders. Again, I'm looking to make sure that the shoulders are balanced, that they're level. I'm going to take a look at the elbows. I want to make sure that the elbow placement is even to the body. I want to make sure that the elbows are not rotated out or that they're introverted in. I'm also going to look at the head and the neck, again looking for any kind of rotation or any kind of lateral flexion one way or the other. Then I'm going to come and I'm going to look from a lateral view. I'm going to take a look at the knees. I want to make sure that the knees do not bend forward. I want to make sure that the client can sit and put the pressure in their heels and that they're not leaning forward on their toes. I want to make sure that they evenly distribute their weight on their feet, keeping most of the weight into their heels. From the pelvis, I'm going to be looking for a posterior or an anterior pelvic tilt. Again, I'm going to look at the elbow placement of the body, make sure that the elbows are not too far forward or too far behind the body. Take a look at the shoulder, make sure the shoulders are not rolled forward or pulled back too far. And then from the head, again, I'm going to take a look again for rotation, and I'm also going to be looking for a slight forward head tilt, meaning that the chin is protruding in front of the upper body. Now that the client has an understanding of core stability, what we're going to do is we're going to take them out on the weight room floor. Watch this next short little video. The core stability test is very simple. You would be surprised at how many people completely fail this core stability test and they have no core strength at all. In that case, it's very important that we not start them off with a lot of machines and a lot of moving parts. We need to make sure that their workout consists of basic core stability exercises so that we do not injure the client in our attempts to help them. The next section of the service assessment is going to be the core stabilization assessment. It's a very simple test. All we're going to do is we're just going to kind of get an idea for how well is the client able to stabilize their core. Sometimes we're going to get a client that is so deconditioned and they're so not used to stabilizing in the core that we are not even going to be able to put them on any type of equipment for the first week to 2 weeks because we have to build up some sort of a foundation of core stability so that we do not risk injury. All I'm going to do when I do a core stability assessment is I'm going to instruct my client to crisscross their arms and put their hands on their shoulders. I'm going to have them sitting on a bench that allows them to have 90 degrees in their ankle, 90 degrees in their knees, and 90 degrees in their hips. I'm going to instruct the client to look forward and close their eyes. Then I'm going to let my client know that I'm going to apply pressure to their shoulders and their hands and the backs of their shoulders, and I'm going to push and I'm going to pull them in all different directions, and their instructions are to, this is where we're going to teach them to draw in their belly button and squeeze their glutes and elevate their rib cage. We've already gone over this with them. Now we're going to show them how to actually put it into practical application. So what I need you to do, Stephanie, is I need you to draw on your belly button like we went over before. Take in a nice deep breath to elevate your rib cage and activate your glute muscles. From here, I'm just going to apply light pressure and I want you to resist it. Don't let me push you around. So I want to see, can the client hold their position while I'm applying light resistance to the shoulders, the backs of the shoulders, and the front of the shoulders. It is not my intention or my goal to actually push the client over. I'm just applying light pressure to see how well they're able to activate the core muscles and activate the glutes and maintain their proper positioning. After the core stability test, we're going to do what's called the practical assessment. With the practical assessment, it's going to serve a couple of purposes. Number one, this is going to be where we really get into that show selling concept of selling that I was talking about earlier. This is where we're going to take them out on the weight room floor and we're going to demonstrate or teach them 3 different exercises. We're going to do a pushing movement, we're going to do a pulling movement, then we're going to do a squatting movement. Now what we're going to be looking for is, as we explained to them when we taught them core stability, we want to make sure that they've got good, proper spinal alignment. We want to make sure that there's a good thoracic arch in the spine. We want to make sure that they know how to activate their glutes and that they can do the drawing in maneuver where they're activating their core or the transversus abdominis. Our instructions are we're going to teach them how to do the exercise after we've allowed them to do it on their own, and then we're going to observe them during 15 reps. Now the weight needs to be light to moderate. We don't want the weight so light that they can throw it around all day and not get any resistance, but at the same time we do not want them to be struggling. During the practical assessment, our goal is not to be building muscle, building strength, or even losing body fat. Our goal is simply just to get them comfortable with the movement pattern and see how well are they able to stabilize their spine, activate their core, and activate their glutes while they're doing resistance training movements. What this is going to give the client is it's going to give the client a good indication of what we can do. Our goal after we show them these exercises is to make them say to themselves, wow, I never would have thought of this stuff, and I definitely never would have come in and taken this approach to my goals. If we can get the client to feel like that, it will usually overcome their objections and we can usually get them on board as one of our personal training clients. Go ahead and watch this video, take notes, refer to your manual. All of this stuff is also in the manual. Now that we've taught our client core stability and we've done the core stability assessment, the next stage in the service assessment is what we're going to call the practical assessment. Now the purpose of the practical assessment is to observe the client and see if they're able to maintain everything we just taught them about core stability while doing movement. It's very typical to have a client be able to do the drawing in maneuver and elevate the rib cage and the glute activation while they're just standing still. However, once we bring them into the weight room floor, it becomes a different story.
So the instructions are is we're going to observe the client doing 3 exercises: a pushing, a pulling, and a squatting movement. We're going to observe them for 15 reps. And what we're going to be looking for is not only are we going to be looking for proper form and technique to be maintained, but we're also going to be looking to make sure that they're able to maintain the glute activation. We want to make sure that they maintain the thoracic arch, and we want to make sure that they maintain the drawing in maneuver while they're doing the exercises. If not, we're just going to identify at which rep they failed to observe any of those 3 things. It is recommended that you never adjust the weight for a client. We don't want to run the risk of offending them or upsetting them. And if you set the weight too heavy, that might send a message to the client that you're trying to show them that they're weak and they should be stronger than they are. If you accidentally set the weight too light, that could also send a message to the client that, again, I think you're weak and I think you can only do this slight amount of weight. So to make sure that we do not ever run the risk of upsetting or offending anybody, we're always going to tell the client to set the weight for what they think that they can do. If the client says that they are not sure, then we want them to guess, because we don't want to take the chance of guessing wrong. If they guess wrong, it's not a problem. So, Stephanie, what I want you to do is I want you to set this weight how you normally would. If today was your first day in your brand new gym and you had never done this before and you had no idea how to do it, I just want you to go ahead and figure out and just do what you would normally do. I'm always going to let the client do the exercise how they normally would. And that way there, it gives them an appreciation for the instructions that we're going to give to them. I've had instances in the past where I immediately showed the client the correct way of doing the exercise, and I knew the client had absolutely no idea what they were doing, yet when we got done, they told themselves a story that, oh, well, I saw what he did and that wasn't very difficult, so I'm sure I could have figured it out myself. We do not want to give the clients that impression. So we always want to assess or have them do a self-assessment on how much they actually know and what they would actually do so that they can realize if they need some assistance or not. So Stephanie, I just want you to go ahead and do this weight how you normally would. And I want you to do about 6 to 8 reps. Now, how is that weight? Is that weight too easy, too light, too heavy, or is it just right?
Just right.
You think it's just right? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to guide Stephanie, and I'm going to explain to Stephanie that I'm going to make a couple of modifications. I'm going to make just a couple of modifications and see if you don't notice a difference in this exercise. So what I want you to do, Stephanie, is go ahead and grab the handlebars and bring them all the way forward. Now I'm going to take the weight off because I'm going to have you holding it a lot longer than you were as I give you some instructions. What I need you to do is lean your head all the way back against the pad as much as you can and just relax your neck muscles. I don't want you facilitating those deep cervical extensors in the neck because that can cause a little crick in your neck when you wake up tomorrow. Now what I want you to do is I want you to take in that nice deep breath, Stephanie, to elevate your rib cage. Now in doing so, Stephanie, we just created a thoracic arch. I should be able to slide my hands behind the thoracic portion of your spine and not touch your body in any way, shape, or form because you have that slight arch present there. I want you to go ahead and do that light drawing in maneuver that we've already discussed. Again, you're not sucking in. You're not trying to make yourself look skinny. You're just trying to activate your TVA. And then I need you to squeeze your glutes. Now, when I tell you to, when I take the weight off, I want you to take a full 3 seconds to come back. When you feel my hand touch your elbow, I want you to hold it there for 1 second, and then I want you to slowly press forward and take 2 seconds to come forward. Now, as you come forward, I want you to apply inward pressure with your hands, as if you were attempting to rip these handles off and smash them together in the middle. Does that make sense? Okay, so elevate the rib cage, draw in the core, activate the glutes, take 3 seconds to come back nice and easy. Now I'm going to stop Stephanie when her shoulder is lined up with her elbow. I do not want her elbow coming back past the shoulder because that's going to put too much stress and pressure on the rotator cuff muscle group. Now, after you've held it for 1 second, I want you to slowly come forward, and as you come forward, I want you to apply inward pressure. When you know that, when you do that, do you feel the muscles of the upper frontal part of the body, of the trunk, meaning the pectoralis major and the pectoralis minor? You should feel more emphasis going into those muscles. Go ahead and do another one. Did you notice a difference when you did that? Yes. That is what we're looking for. In fact, you should have noticed more emphasis on those chest muscles in that last rep than you did the previous 6 to 8 reps that you did. Now, the purpose of this demonstration is to show that the way you were doing it before, there was nothing dangerous. You probably would have never hurt yourself, and there was nothing wrong with how you were doing it. However, we always tell our clients that we cannot just come into the gym and push and pull weight and hope to get the result we're looking for. There's an actual art that we're looking to do, and there's a certain way to push and pull the machines so that you can get the maximum benefit in the least amount of time. Now, from here, with those instructions, I'm going to observe Stephanie performing another 15 reps. And what I'm looking for is I'm going to watch her shirt to see if her belly pops out because she loses her core activation. From time to time, I'm going to very carefully slide my fingers along the pad, and I'm going to let her know, so I don't surprise her, that I'm looking for proper spinal alignment. And then I'm going to tell her to make sure that she's maintaining that glute activation. And I'm going to observe this for 15 more reps to see how she's doing. The next exercise that we're going to do in the practical assessment is going to be the seated cable row. And again, just like on the seated chest press, our instructions are going to be to have the client to set the weight at whatever they feel is going to be appropriate and allow them to demonstrate how they would normally do this exercise for about 6 to 8 reps prior to giving any type of instruction. So Stephanie, do me a favor, go ahead and grab those handles, and I want you to do this seated cable row however you normally would. Again, if the client has no idea, tell them to look at the pictures, tell them to just figure it out as best they can. If anything, that will give them an indication that, wow, I'm not even sure where to start on this. Perhaps one-on-one education would be a good idea. So, Stephanie, go ahead and do about 6 to 8 reps for me, please. Now, obviously, if we notice the client doing something that is obviously dangerous, we're going to stop them. However, as you can see with Stephanie, she's not running any risk of any kind of danger. She's probably not going to injure herself. However, by tweaking or making a couple of minor adjustments in the way that she applies pressure, there's a good chance we can give her a much more effective workout, which would allow her to spend less time in the gym and give her a maximum benefit, which is something that she had indicated to us in the pre-exercise questionnaire. Now, Stephanie, what I want you to do, as before, elevate your rib cage, draw on your belly button, squeeze your glutes. Now, what I want you to do is go ahead and pull your elbows straight back and hold it for a second, and come back as far back as you can. Good. And you want those handles to be in your lower ribs, not to your chest. So bring those handles down just a tad. Now, go ahead and take about 3 seconds to go forward. Good. We want to make sure that the client is maintaining proper spinal alignment. We want to make sure that the client is activating their transversus abdominis and that there's glute activation the entire time. Now, here's where the pressure comes in. Stephanie, do me a favor, go ahead and pull it straight back and hold it. Now, what I want you to do is make sure you don't shrug your shoulders, relax those, but I want you to pretend that there's a little walnut right here between your shoulder blades, and I want you to try to crack it with your shoulder blades. Good. Now, go ahead and go forward. Now, I'm going to add one more thing, and I'm just going to put my fingers on your sides. But what I want you to do is not only do I want you to crack that shoulder, or crack that walnut with your shoulder blades, I want you to come back, and as you pull back with your elbows, touch my fingers with your elbows. Good. And when you do that, you should notice that it's facilitating your lat muscles a lot more than before. And once again, there was nothing wrong with the way you were doing the exercise before. However, hopefully you've noticed that just by making a couple of adjustments, you're going to get a much better workout in less time, which is something you were looking for, correct?
Yes.
So again, I'm going to have Stephanie, I'm going to observe Stephanie doing 15 more reps of this movement, and I'm going to be looking for making sure that she maintains the drawing in maneuver. I'm going to make sure that she does not compromise the thoracic spine. When clients begin to fatigue in this exercise, it's very typical of them to start kind of rolling that thoracic spine out. Another thing that's common, and we're watching Stephanie do it a little bit, is as they get tired, they have a tendency to kind of lean back a little bit so that they can get a little bit of leverage. We want to make sure that the client is sitting straight up as they do this movement. We also want to watch for a slight forward head tilt, which is something that we had noticed in Stephanie's kinetic chain assessment. And as she begins to fatigue, we're going to notice that her chin starts to slowly protrude forward. So those are things that we're going to want to make sure that we make notes in our service assessment sheet so that when we come back to do the recap with her, we can identify everything that we noticed and everything that we saw. All up against the wall. From here, we're going to have them take a couple of steps out just so that they can put all the pressure in their heels when they squat down. So go ahead and step forward about just a couple of inches. Okay, now we want to elevate that rib cage. We want good spinal alignment. We want to squeeze the glutes, and we want to draw in the belly button. Now, it's very typical for clients to have a difficult time maintaining that core activation while they're doing this movement, and you need to let them know that that's okay. Most people are not able to do this, and that's fine. They're also going to more than likely have a difficult time or have a challenging time activating the glutes. Again, that's okay. Let them know we're just getting started. So our instructions are going to be, go ahead and squat down. As they squat down, you want to make sure that they roll their pelvis underneath the ball so that they maintain that thoracic arch. You also want to make sure that they do not bring their chin down into their chest, which is very common for people to do because they feel like they're curling up in a ball. Now from this position, what I need you to do, Stephanie, is with putting all of the pressure into your heels, I need you to stand up through your heels, good, and maintain that glute activation. Come back down. And for 15 reps, I'm going to observe Stephanie from all views. I'm going to take a look at a lateral view. I'm going to look at a posterior view to make sure that she's not rocking her head back and to make sure that she's maintaining that thoracic spinal alignment. I'm going to look from a frontal view, make sure that she's not having any head rotation, any lateral flexion of the spine, and I'm going to make sure that her knees do not come forward past her toes. And I'm going to observe this for 15 reps. Now that we've finished the practical assessment, we're going to take the client back to the desk. Now at this time, they should have some blood pumping through their body. It's very important that you take the client through some movements before you go and do your price presentation. This is important because most people, when they come into a gym, have been deconditioned. They have not been involved in a consistent exercise program. So you're going to want them to make a decision on getting in better shape in a sedentary frame of mind. We want to get the blood pumping, we want to get the heart rate going, we want to get blood going through those muscles so that they remember how good this felt. And they're actually sitting down at your desk rubbing stuff going, wow, yeah, I forgot how good it felt to work the chest muscles. This is the feeling that we want them to be in. This is the frame of mind that we want them to be in because it's only going to help us get them to make that buying decision. So when we go down, we're going to sit down. The script is in the manual. Watch this video and see how we want to interact, how we want to do the final recap, and how we have a very low pressure, non-salesman type approach to getting that person involved in one of our personal training programs. So we finished the service assessment, and I just want to do a little bit of recap with you to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So your goal is you want to be more toned, and by more toned, what you meant was you want to have an athletic condition build, primarily focusing on your hips and your legs. You want to have a healthy body fat percentage, which is lower than 17%, but you're not exactly where that is at this point. You've been thinking about this for a few months. Time, laziness, and finances have been the major objections that have kept you from doing it. It's important to you because you feel like if you can achieve these goals, if you can get your body fat down to an athletic body fat percentage and you can have the athletic toned body, you feel that it's going to give you higher self-esteem and that you'll feel good about yourself. On a scale of 1 to 5, you said that you were a 4 and you weren't exactly sure why you weren't a 5. You want to accomplish your goals in 3 months and you weren't really sure about that. You just kind of threw a number out there. But when I went through the list of everything that it was going to take to make you successful, you agreed that you'd be willing to look at all of those and see if there wasn't a way to make them possible. You're currently taking a multivitamin. You don't need anybody's permission. I'll be honest with you, out of everything that we've gone over today, Stephanie, my biggest concern is that you don't have an exact plan of attack. Now, would you like me to go over exactly what it's going to take in order for you to get these results?
Yes.
Out of everything, as I said, everything that I noticed, my only concern is that you don't have an exact plan of attack. So would you like me to go over exactly what it's going to take for you to achieve these goals?
Yes.
All right. The first thing is going to be proper food intake. The second thing is going to be cardio conditioning. The third thing is going to be proper supplementation. The fourth thing is going to be resistance training or weight training. And the fifth component is going to be professional assistance or taking out the guesswork. Now, what I can do for you as far as your nutrition goes is I can teach you exactly how many calories a day you should be eating. You should not be eating the same number of calories on Monday as you do on Wednesday, because that's going to put your body into what we call starvation mode, and it's really going to fight you as you try to get leaner and leaner. So it's very important that we stagger your calories. It's also important that you learn which foods are going to actually give you the nutrients that you need so that you can actually eat less of them, so that you can actually use your body fat as an energy source. I'll be able to take out all the guesswork. We have fitness articles for that. We have a nutrition software that will take out the guesswork for us so that you can just plug in the foods, and the software will keep track as you go of the percentages of proteins, carbs, and fats. When it comes to doing cardio is going to be huge for you because you need to do cardio, but traditional cardio may not be the thing that you need. So when it comes to doing cardio, I'm going to teach you how to track your heart rate. I'm going to teach you the FIT principle, which is frequency, intensity, time, and type. You're going to know exactly which mode of cardio to do, and you're going to know based on your heart rate and based on your activity level if that's the appropriate amount. But I'm also going to teach you how to adjust it so that as you get stronger and develop endurance, you're still going to be able to get the results you want. The next one is supplements. Supplements are a wonderful thing. They allow us to not have to eat perfect or exercise perfect, but we can still be happy with the way that we look and feel. Unfortunately, about supplements, there's a lot of supplement companies out there that they're really not trying to help people at all. They're just trying to make money. So 95% of them are not going to give you what you need. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to tell the difference between that $3 and that $30 multivitamin so that you don't get ripped off by that barrage of marketing and advertising that will plague us for the rest of our lives. The next thing is when it comes to weight training. Hopefully, when we went through the practical assessment, I showed you that you cannot just come into the gym and push and pull weights and hope to get the results that you're looking for. There is a certain technique that needs to be applied so that you can spend the least amount of time doing the resistance training but get the maximum results. And that's where the professional assistance comes into play. That's where working with me, I can help you see changes in the first 3 to 4 weeks of your membership so that you can start seeing significant changes in your body right away. Now, does that sound like what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at your options. Now, as far as your options go, there's 3 basic packages that I'm going to get somebody started with when they first get started. There's a 6-session package, a 12-session package, and an 18-session package. These are the starter packages that I like to start with. Now, based on your level of influence, based on what you know and what you don't know, and based on what we've gone over today, which one of these 3 packages would make the most sense for you?
Ooh, I don't know, Victor. I don't know if I can do any of those.
Okay. Do you remember earlier when I asked you to think about an amount that you knew, not that you thought, but you knew you could invest initially that wouldn't strap you financially? How much was that amount?
I was thinking around $75 a month.
About $75, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's take a look at that $330 package. Okay, so I have 3 different payment options for you, Stephanie. We can do the $75 initial investment today, and that would leave you with a balance of $255 that just needs to be paid within 45 days. Or you can do the 3-pay option where we did a $75 initial investment today, and that would leave you with an investment of $127 30 days from now and $128 60 days from now. Or what we could do is we could take a look at the 3-session package of personal training, which is $180. That would be a $75 initial investment today, and that would leave you with a $52 investment 30 days from now and a $53 investment 60 days from now. Now, I know that the 3-session package is not going to be as helpful and beneficial as the 6-session package, but I'm sure you'd agree it's going to be better than nothing. You're not going to walk to work just because you can't drive a Ferrari, right?
Right.
So out of these 3 payment options, which one makes the most sense for you based on how much help you think you're going to need, as well as what your budget will allow?
I like the 6-section.
The one right here in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
All right. At the end of the price presentation, when you go through, if the client at any point says that they are not interested, you just simply stop. You stop and you schedule their second orientation. That is until you get to the price. If they say yes, that they believe that that would help them achieve their goals, and yes, they'd be interested in hearing more, and yes, they want to see how you can help them, and you go through and show them price, then we're going to refer to the manual and how to overcome objections. However, at any time before that, if the client just doesn't get it, if they don't have it, if they're just not feeling it, or maybe we just haven't built enough value, our number one objective is to get them to come back to that second training assessment visit. So we're just going to go ahead and stop.
let them go, reschedule that next visit, and make sure that we do a better job or attempt to build more value in the next time. Now that we finished training assessment 1, we've got one of two things. We've either got we have an appointment for training assessment 2, or we have a new client. Hopefully we're going to have the latter. If we did not get this person involved in any of our training programs, we're going to schedule that second training assessment program. In addition to that, we're going to do our closeouts at the end of every month. The end of month closeout for personal trainers simply consists of anybody who has not gotten involved in any kind of personal training program, or clients who have finished up their sessions and chosen not to renew. That closeout day is going to be reserved for those two types of people. Trainers are instructed to schedule 20-minute, what we're going to call re-evaluation appointments. During that 20-minute re-evaluation appointment, we're going to simply do the client's measurements, find out where they are, how they've been progressing, and during that 20 minutes they can ask us as many questions as they want, and we will answer them free of charge. You will be surprised at how many people get personal training 8 months after they've joined, because every month we've been there servicing them, helping them, encouraging them, moving them right along. At some point they begin to open up to us, they begin to trust us, and they'll get involved in sessions. In addition to that, you'll be surprised at how many people will purchase a 6-session package of personal training and they believe that they have it all. Remember, after the initial 6, 12, or 18 session package of personal training, our objective is to get them enrolled in either the 6-month or the 12-month long-term personal training programs. However, if you're not able to roll them over into those packages, you're going to schedule that once-a-month follow-up with them to make sure that they maintain the results that they gained while training with you. And again, you'll be surprised how many people will get 6 or 12 sessions of personal training, get great results, feel like they can do it on their own, so they don't want to renew. But if you keep servicing them, you keep helping them, you'll get a lot of your clients back. And remember, the ultimate #1 objective of every single time you meet with somebody, whether it's training assessment 1, training assessment 2, session 1 of 50, or session 49 of 50, the goal of every single personal trainer is the same thing. And that goal is to get them to come back.